Hey, print hustlers, it's Bruce from Printavo, Simple Shop Management Software. Welcome back to another episode of Printavo Print Hustlers Podcast. This isn't a normal episode, though. I asked John Amato, of which he's our very special guest today, to just be able to join us and explain his Facebook ads magic. So John's been working a lot on the Facebook ad side for quite a while, talking about it, sharing things around it, and we recently put up a blog post that he put together on Facebook ads as well to help other shops be able to push forward retail or custom sales using Facebook ads. But the reason why this isn't normal is because I asked John to share exactly how you think about Facebook ads and share your screen and go through all the details of it. So if you're listening to this episode, you'll definitely want to be able to move over to YouTube to be able to watch along because this is huge. It's helpful. I have just heard so many things about I can't get it to work, just waste money on Facebook ads, and then other people are blowing it out of the water. Anyway, I'm doing all the talking. John, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, okay, Facebook ads. Where did you get started using Facebook ads for Jupmode? And what is Jupmode to the shop that you run?
So we are a little unique in the industry. We have a retail and custom side of the business. And so that is why I ended up getting into ads. It's because we sell direct to consumer. So as I say, we have a DTC business, direct to consumer, and B2B. And last year that balance, the diversity in our business helped us quite a bit. And so we're located in Toledo, Ohio, 25 employees. We do screen printing, embroidery, promo in-house. And then we have 2 retail stores. And our retail stores has apparel for people who love the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, and the city of Toledo. And it's that direct-to-consumer side which really led me down Facebook ads path. And last year, that's kind of why I jumped into it the way I did.
That's huge. Would you say half of the business is retail, more?
Actually, it's less than that. Historically, only about 20% of our business was direct-to-consumer. 80% was B2B. Last year, just with everything that we saw going on in the world, our B2B shrank, and so we're about 60-40 right now. It also had to do with there's a lot more e-commerce business. People are buying things online, and so that was a good trend for us to see that happen. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. Hopefully the B2B side bounces back, but we have that balance in case we need it.
That's awesome. Okay, so Facebook ads, when did you first get into it, and what triggered you to try it?
So I dabbled in it a little bit in 2019 without a lot of success. I focused most of my time on the B2B side. So while I knew that we needed to grow that side of the business, it just wasn't a priority for me. And then early in 2020, in January, I started looking into it more, trying to figure it out. And it is challenging if you don't know what you're doing, if you have no experience and you're not getting help with it. Mm-hmm. And so what happened with me is I stumbled on a tweet, and this person mentioned somebody who has a business that does digital marketing for other people. And he kind of laid out his framework for how he helped grow this business, their revenue, in a very short period of time. And I was fascinated by it. And he actually pointed out a company out of Wisconsin that has classes, they have courses for Facebook ads. And so while I was trying to figure this out, I go, hey, this is, seems like a really good opportunity to learn something. The price for the course was pretty reasonable. And so I took the course, and that really just amped up my Facebook ads game. It's something where in a fairly short period of time, I went from knowing basically nothing to being fairly comfortable with Ads Manager.
That's
I'm not
awesome.
an expert by any means, but it just made me feel comfortable, and I at least knew how I could test things and, the different creative tests that I could do, how to build an audience, things like that.
Can you shout out the course name? And we'll also drop a link down below.
Yeah, it's from Foxwell Digital. And if you go to foxwelldigital.com, they have a whole bunch of courses there. They have them on all sorts of things, scaling your Facebook and Instagram ads, troubleshooting. They even have some Snapchat stuff in there, creative test, all sorts of stuff. They're a great resource, and I advocate following them on Twitter and also sign up for their newsletter as well.
Got it. That's foxwelldigital.com.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's .com, but it's definitely Foxwell Digital.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I see this one course, scaling Facebook ads, about $500, but totally reasonable. So what would you say, how much money did you have to spend until you feel like you started to really get a grasp?
Well, figuring out how much money you're going to spend is one of the hardest things to figure out early on, because you don't know how much you need to spend, how long it's going to take to get a return. In a way, I got really lucky because I was selling direct to the consumers. I was selling individual shirts online, and I started just before the COVID wave for e-commerce hit. Mm-hmm. And so I started out spending $50 a day, and I had a couple different ads, and I was just kind of getting my feet wet. And then there was this huge shift to buying online. And so I caught on pretty quick quick and, jumped into it at the right time, I suppose, for the types of ads I was running. But, it starts small, figure out your audiences, get some responses, and grow from there. And it takes some time to scale. Getting help from a course like this or somebody local who might be doing Facebook ads is a really good tactic as well. But I wrote this article that Printavo published because I think a lot of people are boosting posts on Facebook. And using a post that has done well for you on Facebook or Instagram is a really good strategy to reach more people. And it's something that you definitely should be using, but there's a better way to do it. And so it's an easy way to kind of get into ads because you have something with social proof, ideally, something that people have engaged with. And so when you share that with people outside of your network, it's something that is going to get a better response as a result. And so that's why it's a nice little trick when you're just getting started. Hey, I have this really successful social media post. Instead of boosting it, which only goes to your followers, you can create an ad from that and reach people who look like your followers, for instance.
Got it.
That are customers that haven't seen you in a while. And so that's one reason I focused on this type of post specifically, or this type of ad specifically, because I think it's a really good trick to increase your engagement, especially early on.
Would you say most of this is directed more towards retail work then, or does it apply to custom, and have you used it for that?
It applies to both. And anyone who's jumping into ads needs to understand a couple things. You need to understand what the goal of your ads are. A Facebook ad is primarily brand driven, okay? You're putting an ad out there and you're promoting your brand, which is a little bit intangible, okay? If people aren't familiar with you, it's hard to influence people with just your brand, okay? And so that's why creating an ad out of a social media post that you have is valuable, because there's social proof already built in there with likes or comments or shares. And then creating an ad will hopefully amplify that some. But if you're simply if you're searching for people where their intent is to buy t-shirts, if you want to advertise towards them, your focus should be on Google ads, okay? It's a different type of ad. There is a lot of value in both. And that's also why using a social media post and creating an ad out of it is valuable, because it increases the value of the brand to the people that are going to see it. It's easier to advertise locally in that way, or raise awareness for people who aren't familiar with you, that aren't necessarily shopping. They don't have that intent. And so they can create a connection that way.
How much would you say, or whatever you're comfortable with saying, that you spend now per day after going through all these learnings?
So I went from $50 a day last February to, in the fall, we started spending about $400 a day.
And see a strong ROI, obviously, coming out of it, or else you wouldn't be spending it.
Right. And it's something that we track. It's obviously important to keep your costs in mind, but the simple math for us is if we're seeing a return on ad spend of over 2, we're in a good spot, because once again, we're looking at it mostly to attract new customers and attributing some of the value of that to their lifetime purchases that they'll make with us.
Got it.
Black Friday, we actually had a couple days around, Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, we were spending $1,000 a day. And so if you're getting that return, especially with new customers, you can see spikes in your ROAS there. And fortunately, we can track our return on ad spend with our direct-to-consumer ads. B2B is a little bit more challenging. It's harder to quantify that return, because the return there, it may just be filling out a contact form on your website.
Sure, but attributing that to the total sales is trickier than the retail. Sure.
Exactly. But at the same token, your cost per acquisition can be a lot higher, because the value of that customer is going to be higher.
Right. But it's doable. I mean, definitely.
Absolutely.
We do a rough way, but it absolutely requires somebody going through data to figure it out, right? So if it's a contact form, I know Facebook has those lead generating forms, right? You could tie either a phone number or email address or the domain name, if it's not a Gmail or whatever, obviously, to somebody customer end, and then run their total sales for that year. I mean, you're going through a lot of spreadsheets, but it is absolutely possible. Let's hop in. I'm just very curious, because I'm always trying to learn more about this too, as nailing, I feel like there's so many components, figuring out the audience, figuring out the creative, figuring out the copy. There's so many fields on Facebook when you create those ads,
Right.
and then measurement of it, and then even types of ads, right? Because there is like the retargeting versus
Right.
just kind of a fresh audience out there. So let me make you a co-host here in Zoom, and so now you can be able to share.
Okay.
And again, if you guys are listening to this on the audio, pause this, grab the video here too, although we'll talk it out to try to help if you're driving or something like that. But John's going to walk through this stuff in detail.
So we'll go ahead and share my screen. And what you should see here is my ads manager. And just to give you a breakdown, this, it is a little daunting when you first jump in to understand everything that's going on here. And you can figure out the best way or how it makes the most sense for you to break everything down, okay? But essentially what I'm doing here, I typically label my ads by the type of customer I'm trying to attract, okay? So you can see here, I have a prospecting campaign, okay? And that's reaching people who are unaware of us. And this says prospecting 5% LLA, that's a lookalike audience, okay? So they look like current customers that I have. I have one that's a wide open audience, so there are no restrictions there, except I'm excluding people that have been to our website in the last 30 days. I'm retargeting 30-day web visitors here. And then I do have some prospecting for interest-based categories. So this is prospecting people that are interested in things that have to do with Ohio. So whether it's Ohio State Buckeyes, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, things like that. And then this one right here, this bottom one, it's people that fit into the middle of our sales funnel. And so that would be people who know us. They could be on our email list. They've interacted with our social media in a certain time frame, yet they haven't purchased likely within the last 30 days. Okay. So your campaigns are mostly, the way I have them broken down, at least, we start with kind of breaking down the audience, and then you jump into the ad set. Sorry, I'm going to jump back here to kind of narrow this down a little bit. You jump into the ad set and you narrow down, at least I do, I narrow down my audience even more. And you can do this a lot of different ways. So this prospecting campaign, it's a 5% lookalike audience, okay? And you can see here at different times, I've had different audiences in here where this is a 5% lookalike Facebook and Instagram engagers. This is a 5% lookalike of people who have added to the cart. And right now I've kind of stacked all those audiences together because my budget isn't huge. So I've stacked it all together to optimize it essentially. So your ad set, you want to think audience. Your ads, you want to think of your specific messaging or the specific product or services that you're offering. And so we have two that are live here in this ad set, which is a 5% lookalike audience. And they've just been running, they haven't been running that long. I actually just made one live yesterday. Okay. But they have different creative within it. You can change up your messaging or your content within each one, your graphics, things like that. That's kind of the basics on how to structure your ads manager. You start with a campaign.
There's an ad right there that I was seeing that looks like spent $23 or something, returned 41.
Yep. And so that's actually just today. And so you can change this up, look at 30 days.
That's the 2x return.
Yep. Exactly. And one thing that's important to mention is that there are some reporting concerns right now because Apple is upgrading to iOS 14. So if you guys are aware, or if you guys are using Facebook ads, the reporting, the time window has changed. And so it used to be you could have a 28-day window. Right now it's a 7-day window. And so the reporting, there are inconsistencies in Facebook ads reporting right now is the easiest way to say it. Because a good chunk of people that might be clicking on an ad are coming from an Apple device. And when they're coming from an Apple device with iOS 14, you're not getting, because of some of the privacy measures they've taken, you're not getting all the information there. It's also off season for what we're doing. So a lot of these ads may not be seeing a great return. A 5% is a prospecting audience for me, which means I'm expecting a lower return on ad spend. So, where people that are familiar with me, I would expect a higher return.
If we start at the top of the funnel, the website, like first, this I'm assuming is run on Shopify.
Correct.
Now I know Shopify has those add-ons that are like the Facebook ads plugin. Are you using that to connect to be able to measure those conversions, or just keeping them totally separate?
Well, there's an app for Shopify that you can use to help with it. And I think it's called Kit. We don't use that. It is a really nice app if you want to use that. The most important thing is that you have no matter what platform you're using, you need to have your Facebook pixel connected to your website, whichever type of website it is. If you don't have your pixel connected, you can't even get off the ground. If you Google how to connect whatever platform you're using, how to connect my Facebook pixel to my website, you'll be able to find an easy way to do that. But it's the pixel, the Facebook pixel is what tracks people when they go to your website.
Got it.
And that's why you need that information. So that is the starting point. The article I wrote in this conversation just kind of assumes you're already there. If that should be a pretty easy thing to figure out. You need help with it, you can reach out to me, or once again, a simple Google search should be helpful there as well.
Got it. And so let's say we got this site set up. I'm assuming most people are running retail on Shopify, so they can, I'm sure, go through an easy setup to make sure their Facebook ads is connected to Shopify. We won't get into that.
Right.
We've got it all connected. I open up Facebook ads, a lot of buttons here, a lot of things to do. Where do we start?
So the most basic thing that you want to do is figure out the audiences that you want to target with your ad. Are you trying to reach brand new people with your audiences, or with your ad? If you're trying to reach a brand new audience with your ads, you want to build an audience that excludes your current customers, maybe your email list, things like that. And so we can jump into my ad sets here, okay? The best one to show you. I'll show you my 5% lookalike audience, okay? So this is a prospecting audience. So we have these lookalike audience. This is a 5% add to cart. ATC is add to cart. And then a 5% EUR is purchase. So this is people that look like customers that have either added to the cart on our website or purchased from our website. And then I'm excluding here people that have purchased within the last 180 days. Because if they've purchased within the last 180 days, I'm going to use a different method to stay in touch with them. I'm going to use social media, I'm going to use emails, or I'm going to use retargeting ad, different campaign, a different ad set to get in touch with them. So it's people that have purchased within the last 180 days, that have viewed our website in the last 30, people that have engaged with us on Facebook or Instagram within the last 180 days. I want to reach new people aren't familiar with us with this ad set. And so that's
got it. So you're being very specific with the audience here.
Right.
People who have literally not done anything or shown any interest to any of your social channels or website in 30 days for the website, or purchased in 180, or engaged in Instagram less 180. So these are fresh people.
Exactly. Yeah. It's brand new people that aren't familiar with us and that should be interested based on the lookalike audience that should be interested in what we're doing. And that's why you're going to see a lower return on ad spend here, but it's going to be a brand new customer. And that's why I think the value is of these ads. It's primarily in attracting new customers, because you have less expensive ways to stay in touch with your current customer. The number one thing being email. Email is a very inexpensive way to stay in touch with your customers, sell them new things, or sell them more things that they like, or social media. If somebody's already engaged with us on social media, chances are I should be able to sell them this product anyway. So that's why I'm excluding them from this. And so these exclusions are really important because you want to narrow the focus of each campaign and each ad set. One thing that you need to think about is your sales funnel a little bit. You want to think about your prospects. You want to think about people who are engaged in the middle of the funnel but maybe haven't purchased in a while. And then you want to think of people that are engaged in what you want to do with them. And you can tailor your messaging differently based on that. For instance,
so there's three, is that really the three main audience groups that you start to look at? Is like fresh, brand new people are kind of in this middle of the buying process, but haven't committed. And then people who have fallen off and you're trying to retarget and nurture back in?
Well, so it's broken down with the top of the funnel would be your prospects, okay? People who are unaware of who you are. And so it'd be a brand new experience for them if you served an ad to them. And they would see your ad, they wouldn't know who you are, and so you might need more of an incentive to sell to them. So a coupon could be good there. Or you want to make sure that your ad is very compelling. So the top of the funnel is going to be people who are not familiar with you. The middle of the funnel is going to be people who are familiar with you but haven't purchased a certain amount of time. Generally, I'm thinking 30 to 60 days. This could even be somebody who's been on your email list for 5 years, but they haven't purchased. And that's why an email list is so valuable, because even if somebody's unsubscribed, they're still on your email list, and you could actually serve them an ad through Facebook, and assuming they're on Facebook. And so your middle of the funnel, I think I can pull it up here. Let's see what it looks like. My middle of the funnel, I'm including people that have engaged with us within the last 90 days on Facebook and Instagram, that are the top 25% of website visitors within the last 180 days on our email list. Klaviyo is our email platform. So they're on our email platform. And I've excluded people that have purchased in the last 30 days.
Got it.
So this is people that are familiar with us but haven't ordered from us recently. Okay, that's your middle of the funnel. It's a really good group of customers because they know you, and for whatever reason, they just haven't bought from you in a while. It could be, hey, they've cut their marketing budget in the last year because COVID was a wacky year. Or it could be, hey, they ordered more than they needed. They're ready to order soon here, and they just might need to be reminded. And this could be a way to remind them. The middle of the funnel has been a very successful ad set audience for us.
Got
and
it.
then
Because they're like sort of,
Yeah.
they're more primed.
Exactly.
It's a warm lead.
Right. And then your bottom of the funnel is going to be people that have purchased from you recently, that are very engaged with you, really don't need to be reminded to order from you, but may need to be reminded of a new service or a new product that you offer. If that makes sense.
Got it. And now each of these audiences, I'm assuming, has very different creative and ad copy.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be very different, but you should think about how you position your creative for each one. Because somebody who knows you really, really well, they probably don't need to see your brand video again, but they might need to be reminded that, hey, in addition to screen printing, you do embroidery as well. Somebody at the top of the funnel in a prospecting account, they may need more of an incentive. So it could be a good idea to offer them a 10% coupon, or let them know that you're having a giveaway for free shirts if they sign up for your email list, because at top of the funnel, you're just thinking about engaging them and moving them down that funnel and their pathway to purchase. And so, yeah, it is important to think about different messaging for each part of the funnel. But just starting out, I think it's more important to define your funnel and to separate your audiences, and then begin the creative test to figure out which part of the funnel responds best to which messaging. To be honest, we don't separate it that much. There are times where we try different offers. We'll provide discounts on the top of the funnel, but it's still something that, even after a year of this, doing it a fair amount, that I could use some practice.
So the audience, it sounds like, is the most important piece to get started with. You started putting in $50 a day. Is that where somebody has to start for it to start working? Can they start with $5 a day?
Yeah, I mean, you can start with $5 a day. I'm not going to say you can start as low as you want, because you should probably be spending $5-10 a day. I mean, if you don't have $5 to $10 a day to spend, you should probably prioritize other advertising or marketing spend. But what you need to consider is, what is your cost per acquisition, and how often do I want to acquire new customers? If your cost per acquisition is $50 and you want to acquire one customer a day, you should probably be spending $50 a day. Okay. And of course, the tracking of it is important, but definitely you start small. You have to understand what the goal is of the ad. Mine are set up as conversions, but if you could set up an ad so that it's for page likes or website visits. Your return on ad spend could be much different than these, which are based on conversions. And so I would definitely start small. I started small, I would say. Keep a very narrow focus. If you're starting with $5 or $10 a day, there's probably no sense in having ads for 3 parts of the funnel. If you're starting out with $10 a day, let's say you just have, if I were starting with $10 a day, I would go with a middle of the funnel audience. I would exclude recent customers. I'd have one campaign. I'd have one ad set. I'd have one ad. Test it out. Test that ad out.
How long?
See how it goes. Test it for a couple weeks.
Okay.
Give yourself a 2-week runway and kind of build it from there. This is one of those things where it takes time to learn. And so you're going to have to set aside some budget for it. You're going to have to go, okay, I have $500 or I have $1,000, whatever it is. And I want to learn how this works. My assumption, of course, is that if you're doing Facebook ads, you're probably already emailing your customers on a regular basis, and you probably already have Google AdWords set up.
Got it. Okay. So this is really great to start off with the audience. Are there example ads that either you created that are really good foundational ones, or for people to think about? And I even think about sometimes the image, right? Like, what should it be? Somebody wearing,
right,
an item. What should that be? What should the text be? That's a good best practice. Should it be a deal versus shop now? Or
yeah, and one thing that's really popular, video is really popular right now. You want to catch people right away if you're using video. So video is always a great way to go, even if it's not a professionally done video. You see a lot of TikTok style videos that are converted to ads. Mm-hmm. User-generated content is really good. We're using user-generated content on a lot of our ads now. If I jump into the correct ad here. Sure. ad set here. You know, this is a photo that a customer provided us, okay? And we're using that in an ad. It looks really authentic, it's a really good look to it. And so if you can get photos from customers where they're enjoying your product, it's a really good place to go for an ad. We actually have an email automation set up. We're requesting photos from our customers. And so that's how we acquire some of them.
After they purchase, you know,
exactly.
their purchase, share it,
right.
or got it.
And if they tag us on Instagram or Facebook, we're going to ask for permission to use that.
Got it. Is there any interesting thing that you think about when writing the descriptions? Like, is it keep it short or put emoticons in it, longer ones? What do you think?
You know, that's one thing that you want to test a lot of different ways. Emojis seem to be effective. If you have a good description that's longer, that people have engaged with and you've seen that can be pretty valuable. You see, we're kind of keeping this pretty short. We have a review in this ad right here where we put 5 stars. And so this is going to a prospecting audience, people who don't know us. So we put a review, an actual review from a customer. And so that's going to legitimize us to somebody who doesn't know us.
Got it.
And I think one of the biggest things is when you're writing captions, really writing anything that's directed to your customers, you want to use you language. You want to talk about your customer here. And so you can see in this description we have right here, we say it's not a Midwest winter if you don't get snow. Stay warm and comfy in your new favorite sweatshirt, our embroidered Midwestern crew. And so, you know, we could have said that as it's not a Midwest winter if there's not some snow. But instead of saying there, we're saying if you don't get some snow, because we want people to feel this themselves and relate. And so that's one of the basics for marketing that I think is overlooked a lot for people that are new to it or not spending a lot of time in it. Talk about your customer, make them feel it and internalize it and so they can see themselves in your product.
Got it. That makes sense. I like it.
So I can show how to create an ad from a Facebook.
Yeah, let's do that. Because you talk about don't boost it, really go through here. And it sounds like the boosting really just doesn't assign the correct audience is the core.
Yeah, that's my viewpoint. When you boost a post, only showing that to your current followers to your Facebook page. And so my argument is that you have a successful post and you want to use that to reach new people. And so if you want to reach new people, you do not want to post it. And the primary value in Facebook ad is reaching new people, okay? If you just wanted to reach your current customers, you'd send an email or you'd post something on social media. But if you're trying to reach new people, which I would argue that should be your goal for a paid ad of this nature, then you should create a specific ad. So I'm in my ads here. I'm going to create a new ad, all right? And I'll use an existing campaign, all right? For argument's sake, I've got a lot of different campaigns in here. We're going to use our 5% lookalike audience. So you would originally have to have this built in order to do that. I'm going to use an existing ad set, pops up there for me, okay? And then I like to date them. That way I know how long I've been running it, when I started it, and even if I need to come back to it, it helps me narrow things down, okay?
That makes sense. How often are you checking in on that, by the way? So, like, is it on every Monday I'm combing through and tweaking, testing a new ad for a new audience?
I'm checking into Facebook Ads Manager multiple times a day, and that's just because I'm spending so much money, and I have different ads running. You know, honestly, I used to check more, but because the reporting's a little bit delayed because of everything that's going on, I don't check in as often anymore, where I have to be a little bit more patient. But it used to be, prior to everything that's going on, I used to be able to check in on Facebook ads and have a pretty good idea of how our sales were doing for the day. And so if you're doing Facebook ads, you should probably be checking them every day to get an idea, and you can see the success over the day, the last 7 days, the last 2 weeks, and evaluate what changes you want to make.
Got it.
Facebook, I do think, requires you to check in at least once a day. So I'm naming it here. I actually might change the ad name in a second, but I'll go continue. And you go through the selections here. It has our Facebook page selected automatically. I have to check my Instagram page. One thing that is important about Facebook ads is that you can set them to post on Instagram as well. Facebook and Instagram, it's the same thing. I'm scrolling down here and what am I looking for here? So it's not letting me. Oh man, I'm falling flat here on you, Bruce. It's not letting me.
That's okay. We'll edit this.
It's not letting me use an existing post.
That's okay. I mean,
Oh, I know what I did.
oh,
I selected the wrong campaign. All right, so we're working this back. Sorry.
that's all right.
I'm on my smaller screen here. This is going to do it for me. There we go. This is giving it to me. Okay, good. Okay, now we're where we want to be. So in the ad setup here, there's a drop down. You can create a brand new ad, and I'm just going to select use existing post. And so this is going to let me choose post from Facebook or Instagram and make an ad out of it. You can go to your Facebook page and pull it specifically, or you can just select here and go, you can push this button and go select post. I can scroll through here and look at my post and choose the one that I want to make an ad out of. When you're doing this, one thing that you want to look at, it's showing you the number of likes that you have, the comments, the shares. And once again, the purpose of this is that you want to choose something with good, strong engagement. And you can decide what that is. What's going to happen then is when this becomes an ad, those likes, those shares, those comments are going to transfer to that ad. And so that's the value of this.
Right. So it looks good.
Exactly. And so what I'm going to do here, looking at this post here, it has 72 likes, 6 comments, and 2 shares. That seems like a good one to make an ad out of, especially one that's going to a new audience. You can edit these individually if you'd like. Okay. You can select a placement to edit. You can view the ads in different platforms.
And you run them on all the platforms. So just let it go on everything.
Yeah. That's in your ad set. You can run it on all the platforms. I run them specifically on Facebook and Instagram. There are also different areas that Facebook will allow ads to be run, where they have permission to let them run, and affiliates maybe. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but you can do that. I just don't. I run it specifically to Instagram and Facebook. You could even, if you wanted to, in your ad set, specify that I only want this ad set to go to Instagram, for instance. And so if you're having more luck on Instagram than Facebook, you can create one that's just Instagram specific. And so that might help you narrow it down.
Got it.
Okay, I've chosen this post here. Okay, I can look at it a few different ways just to see what it looks like. I can edit things if I want. The call to action, which is really nice, shows up. And so you can select the call to action. So if you want it to be learn more, shop now, whatever it is, this is really helpful because your social media post does not have shop now on it. And so this is great because I took the social media post, which had no call to action on it.
That's the link they go to. Do you find shop now is probably the best, or is there any others that you rely on?
If you're selling an individual product, that's what you want to do.
Got it. Shop.
Yeah. If I look at this post here, I believe it does have.
Do you ever mess around with coupons with this as the call to action here too?
Yeah. I think coupons are a good thing. We're running some ads right now that have coupons.
Got it.
If you're doing coupons, you want to keep them really simple. Make your discount code FB, like Facebook 10, or FB, 25, or whatever is simple. That way it's really easy for the customer to remember.
Okay.
But I'm actually using this post in a different ad, but typically there's a drop down here to add a call to action. I didn't have to do that right now, but that call to action automatically populates. It's important to add that call to action. I think there's a lot of value to that.
Got it. So the call to action for the shop now, making sure that's on there. Then you're just going through and hitting publish. Got it. So it's really, the steps are nailing those 3 different audiences, grabbing posts. I mean, clearly you have to definitely be posting regularly on social to be able to pull these from. But with an emphasis on grabbing the posts that do have the most interactions and then using them for ads to keep pushing forward.
Right.
This is boosting 2.0.
Right. Yeah. When you have a successful post that's been seen by a lot of people, it's a very valuable asset. And you can get that to more people when you share it as an ad this way than if you're going to boost it. That, of course, is assuming that your goal is to find new customers, to acquire new customers, which I would advocate for.
Got it. This is awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, John. John's done a lot of work, although you can find him at Jupmode on Instagram, Jupmode Supply, and also Jupmode.com. But although I don't know, I was going to say, I guess people can reach you at John at Jupmode, but at the same time, it's not like you agency work or anything like that. But I guess if you have questions, drop them down below, and John will be able to help and answer. We've seen so many different shops really be able to make this work. I want to be able to help more people find success here. And thank you, John, for being able to share how you guys do it.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out. You can email me. I'll do my best best to respond. Hopefully I'm not inundated by questions from the Printavo audience, but I can definitely help. And that is a great resource is Foxwell Digital, their courses. I'd recommend those to anybody. The other thing, in the article, I list a couple others. There are a lot of people on Twitter that are sharing a lot of information. Just like we have private screen print groups, there are private Facebook ads groups as well. It's going to be like drinking from a fire hose at first, but once you start to get your feet under you, there's a lot of information. It makes a lot more sense. It's going to take time, just like anything else. It doesn't take 2 weeks to learn how to screen print. It's not going to take, a short period of time to learn how to do ads. You got to commit to learning. And there are a lot of free resources out there, but I think Foxwell Digital is a great place to start. Certainly you can ask me questions. I'm not a pro in this by any means, but I'm welcome to help or open to help in any way that I can. And I think this article and hopefully this video and audio can point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you, John. This is John at Jupmode.
Bruce.